Okay. All right. Well, this is Janet, and it's really great to be at this point of our PolarTREC lives, I guess, where we get to have an end of the season wrap up and find out what everybody has been doing since your field experience. This particular webinar is super fun because not only do we have the alumni that just returned from field expeditions, but we have the participants, some of the participants that are going to be going out, some of them that I see signing on in a few weeks out to the field. So we want to give them an idea of what to expect maybe a year from now and hear from you some of your sage advice of what you've learned over the past 12 months or so since some of you have had your expeditions, although Glenn Clark hasn't probably even had time to digest that he's home. Anyway, so I want to welcome you to this webinar, and it's May 22nd, 2014. A few things before we actually get into the presentation. Some of you, it might have been a long time since you've been on a webinar, so this is just a refresher as to how Blackboard Collaborate works. The content or slides should be shown in the center, and things should be changing along at a fairly good rate for you. There's a list of participants. You can see all the names there, and underneath the participant list is a chat room, so feel free to type in your questions there, say hi, make comments, do whatever you want to in that little white box there. And I think Sarah pointed out when we just were signing on that she did give everybody video capabilities, so you can give it a try when you say hello. If you have a webcam or something, your face will show up there in the video if it's on. And there are people that have joined us by phone, and some of them even aren't at a computer yet, so we'll try to remember to tell you what kind of slides, where we are in the presentation in case you're following along with a PDF or just need to know where we are in the presentation. And we are recording it, and so it will be archived if something happens, like weather disrupts something or life disrupts, or you want to refresh your memory later on. Okay, so this is just a slide about questions and discussions and how we interact through this platform. So as it says, you can type your questions or comment in the text chat box, or you can raise your hand. Above the list of participants, there's a little, at the very top, there's a little hand icon. It looks like somebody's clapping actually. You click on that and that raises your hand, and that lets us know that you want us to call on you. And when it's your turn to talk, if you're using voice over IP and not talking through the phone, you click on the talk button once, which is under the audio and video section of your screen. You click on that once, that opens the mic, say what you want to say, and then please remember to click on it again when you're done to close the mic so we don't walk on top of each other. And if you're using a phone, just turn off your mute to talk and then turn it back on so we don't get background noise, like I'm getting some right now. So if there are any questions with that, we just wanted to share a fun group picture, and it definitely brings a smile to my face to see the Elvis Presley cohort from 2013-2014. It's just an awesome picture. So hopefully y'all, Paula, when you get back to your a computer, you can remember to look at that group picture because you're in there also. So with the what we're going to do in the next hour or so is reflect on what the experience was like. We'll hear from the teachers, what it was like to go out in the field and what you've done since then. We'll hear from the researchers that are available to us, and I think they've even sent us things. We'll hear from the cohort, or the group of teachers that are and researchers that are going out in the field. And then we'll talk about how you stay connected, and then we'll share some other things that are coming up with you. Again, the purpose of this is just to reflect on the past and see where you are and what you want to do in the future. It's also a chance for everybody to recap the expedition and share what has happened. And and communicate this with everybody. And then hopefully you'll also gather some ideas from listening to everybody on what you want to do and how to continue your experience. And then also it's kind of that collaboration kind of alumni building piece that we're always trying to do with PolarTREC alumni. So hopefully this will be a way to bring you all back together. Before we go into the actual presentations, let's see. I see people are saying hi there. We're going to have I think in a couple slides. Do we have a? Did I miss one, Sarah?
What are you looking for?
Who you are, an introduction, or are we going to do
Oh,
that?
well, that's kind of what everybody's doing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not paying attention to the chat, so okay. I thought there was.
You're good. Yeah.
I thought there was a slide earlier and maybe it just went away.
Oh, okay.
I thought there was one that had an introduction or say something about where you are and where you went to.
Yeah, that was in there. I don't know where it is right now. Anyway, we'll do that when everybody
mentioned that, and you guys can type it in the chat. There was a slide that was participant introduction. So actually we'll just do that right now. It was somewhere, it disappeared. We'll go around before we get into the, let me go back to the Elvis, sorry. I'm trying to work a PDF and this thing at the same time. Okay, so in your PDF, Sarah, it says participant introduction. So we just want to hear who you are, what your expedition you were on, and where you are now, like, you know, if you're in Chicago or on a beach front property and we're all jealous about it. So we'll just go down the list of participants, and remember if you're talking through voice over IP to click on the talk button once to open the mic and then click on it again to close it. And if you're on phone, just unmute yourself. So Alex Eilers. Are you there, Alex? Of course. She's here. Okay, so Alex,
if you want to use your mic, you can. She said here in the chat box, but if you want to say hi, I bet you don't have a mic, huh?
Of course, I pick on the one person that never has a mic. It's okay, Alex. Just say where you are, where you went, and yeah. And we'll move on. While you're typing, Alex, I'm going to move on to Alicia.
Hey guys, I'm Alicia. I was out at Tulip Field Station with Team Squirrel. I'd rather be there now than here in Oklahoma. It's about 95 degrees today, so Tulip's sounding great right now.
Sure it does. Thank you, Alicia. Amy Leventer. Are you there, Amy? Okay. We see Amy's mic is on, but we don't hear you, and we see that you're typing away, so we'll let you type away. I'm not sure why your mic's not working. So while Amy's doing that, oh, okay. Just feel free to introduce yourself, Amy, there, where you went and where you are now. We'll move on to Ann Garland. Maybe not. Okay. I'm going to be quick about this just so we can get through things. Betsy, are you there?
Can you guys hear me? All right, Betsy Wilkenine, and I was a PolarTREC teacher in 2009 and a mentor for the cohort in 2013-14, and I'm calling in from Tucson, Arizona.
Awesome. Welcome. Carol Scott.
Hey there. Welcome back to Fairbanks, everyone, at least virtually. Exactly a year ago today, I was in northern Finland at the Cable Research Station, looking at wetland gas emissions with Kim Miller, who is right now with an engineer buying a house in Ohio, so I don't think she's going to make it. I did manage to track her down.
All right. Thank you, Carol. Corey Williams.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, and I'm a researcher that worked with Alicia Gillian up in Tulip last summer, and we're going to have another PolarTREC teacher coming up this summer.
All right, great. Dominique.
Hi, I'm Dominique. I'm in LA right now. I am a 2014-2015 PolarTREC teacher, so I haven't been out yet, but I will be going to East Antarctica on Palmer next March.
Okay, George.
Hi, I'm George Hale. I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm an outreach coordinator for Operation IceBridge at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. We actually just finished up our 2014 Arctic campaign, and last year we had Mark Busing with us. This year we had Russell Hood with us, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Okay, and we have Glenn Clark.
Hi, I'm Glenn Clark. I just got back from East Antarctica with Dr. Amy Leventer on the NB Palmer.
Okay, and Jamie.
Hi everybody, Jamie Essler here. I'm currently in sunny North Idaho, and last summer I traveled to the glacier Mula-Jokul with Dr. Neil Iverson in central Iceland.
Excellent. Okay, and we have Ken.
Hi everybody, Ken Williams here. I'm on the coast of Maine in my classroom at Noblesboro Central School, and about a year ago I was climbing up the Kahiltna Glacier in Denali National Park with a former student of mine from the late 80s, early 90s, and the cool thing about that is Seth Campbell, the scientist, just finished his PhD and defended everything about 2 weeks ago, so he's a newly minted PhD, and I'll be seeing him at a family gathering actually a couple years in about a week. So that's that. Thanks.
All right, and Lauren?
Hey, I'm Lauren Whithow. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I am a 2014-2015 PolarTREC teacher headed out in just a few weeks to Toolik to go look at microbial changes in the fresh water.
Thanks, Lauren. And Lucy, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy Coleman, and I'm going to be headed to Antarctica with a team of researchers from UC Davis to look at microbial communities. And I'm in Sacramento, California.
Great, and how about Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark Busing, coming to you from the sparkly metropolis of Libertyville, Illinois, Libertyville High School. 13 months ago, I was in Greenland with NASA's Operation IceBridge, gathering data on the ice there.
Okay, and we'll move on to Nell. Kim?
Hi everyone, I'm Nell Kemp. I am in Chicago. Just got home actually from school. And I was at Tulip Field Station last year working with Amanda Colt looking at the effect of predatory cycles on the food web.
Okay, great. Welcome. And Regina.
Hey, I think he was supposed to pick you up. He said he...
Well, Regina had her phone muted. Maybe we can't, maybe she's busy with students right now. So when she comes back, we'll let her introduce herself. Tom.
Hi all, I'm Tom. I was in Healy a little over a year ago working with Elizabeth Webb on carbon emissions from heated tundra, and I'll be back in Healy probably beginning of August on my own research project testing their controls there.
All right. And Regina, I see that you came back. Do you want to say hi? Take that back. All right, we'll move on to Tina.
Hi everyone, I'm calling from Ipswich, Massachusetts, and I'm a 2014-2015 PolarTREC teacher, and in August I'll be headed to Greenland to study the receding glaciers there with Jason Briner.
Okay, and we have Tyler.
Yes, I'm a researcher at UC Davis here, and we'll be going to Antarctica this fall with Lucy Coleman.
Oh, excellent. Okay. And we have a couple people, I think, that are just on the phone or trying to get on. Let's see, Brian Dubé, are you there?
You might be gone again there.
All right, and it looks like Anne disappeared too. Paula, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Well, about a year ago, I was down at Palmer Station in Antarctica with Kristen O'Brien and Lisa Crockett studying icefish. I'm in Chicago now, trying to elude the president's motorcade before the traffic gets crazy. And Nell just got hired to our school, so we're going to be working together next year.
Yeah, that's what Sarah was saying. That's awesome. I love it. PolarTREC invasion. Okay, is there anybody else on the phone or virtually that I didn't call in that can hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me? This is Kristen.
Oh, hi. Yes, we can.
Hi there. Yeah, I tried to log in through the webinar, but I just got to the test page and I didn't get beyond that.
Okay, we'll send you the other link, okay?
Okay.
And this is Elaine Hood in Denver. I work for the U.S. Antarctic Program, the support contractor, Lockheed Martin, and I'm just listening in to see if there's any way I can help and learn.
And Kristen, why don't you tell us who you worked with in relation other than that?
Sure. Yep, so this is Kristen O'Brien. I'm at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks, and I collaborate with Paula Dell, who just spoke.
And
yes, so I work at Palmer Station in the Antarctic.
And Sarah's sending you the link by email.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, anybody else? We had Elaine, we had Kristen. Anybody else out there? All right.
Hello.
Well, thank you. Oh, hello? Who's that?
Hi. Yeah, hi. This is Regina. I'm in Livermore, so outside of San Francisco, in a middle school classroom. So I was having trouble getting the noise down. I'm heading to Toolik in less than a month.
All right. Yeah, okay. I think we got everybody. Jamie says you're a brave soul, Regina. Okay, let's see. So yeah, we want to welcome everybody to this presentation, and it was great to hear your voices even just for a little moment there. The slide that's up is kind of giving you a timeline of where PolarTREC came from, and you can see that this visual graphic shows that we've been doing this working with educators and researchers, at least starting in the Arctic and then eventually the Antarctic, but way back since 2004. So we've been doing it quite a long time. And one thing that's not on this graph is that the current cohort would actually be 2014-15. So we've got a lot of years under our belt, and it's really fun to see you guys all connected here. Before we get into presentations, we just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what we've been doing, and kind of the little bit of data that we have here to share with you today. So this is just kind of the table that shows how many teachers we've been working with, and where all those teachers have gone. So we've had this doesn't include the TREC years, this just includes the IPY years and the OPP year current grants, and we've had over 135 teachers. This does include support for some Einstein Fellows for virtual support that we've had, and it shows where they've gone, 88 in the Arctic and 47 in the Antarctic. So it's a good group of you out there, and you've been doing a lot of amazing things, and that's what we want to get to here in a little bit. The next slide is just another visual of the flyers that we had, and it looks like this was of your cohort. And just a reminder of where people are from and where they went from last year. And Sarah, feel free to interject or add anything more along the way.
You're doing great.
Okay. And so some of the things that this particular, well, actually our whole program that we wanted to highlight and share with you that you may not know is that as teachers involved in this, you've produced over 100 lessons that have resulted from this experience. We've developed collections of these lessons, that's a mouthful, that are in the learning resources, so you can check those out there. And when we talk about collections, they relate to different like life science or physical science and things like that. So you can see what those collections are on learning resources. Many of you are part of Polar Educators International, which was really started by PolarTREC teachers, I want to say. It has a lot of you are involved in it from the very beginning stages and have been very active since it's been going, and it's been just really exciting to watch that take off. Alumni also have been presenting at science and education conferences across the country, and I think in one of the reports I have a better number for that, but it's in the thousands. You've been participating over the years in a lot of different conferences and presenting with researchers. And then the last little statistic is that we've had over 20,000 participants joining live IPY and Polar Connect events from 2006 to present, and it's just showing that those Polar Connect events that you might have been hard out in the field, but they really are making an impact, and we're sharing it with, and you're bringing in lots of students and people that might not be hearing about the polar regions otherwise. So just wanted to show that your efforts and things do make a difference, and as a group. So sometimes individually you don't feel like it, but as cohorts you really are making an impact in polar education and polar science. For this 2013-14 cohort, we've put together a little infographic of what that looks like. At the top is just all the different science topics that you participated in, and it goes everything from Antarctic fishes all the way to circadian rhythms and wetland dynamics, really diverse things. We have little representation of where all those projects all are. And then kind of on the outreach side, what I like to see is, and so do the funders, is kind of the statistics and the numbers. They like to see all the numbers. So with your group alone, there was over 180,000 unique visits to the website. You had over 2,300 questions and comments posted to your journals, so that was a lot. There were 528 new journals. You did a lot of writing this last year. 128 new videos, 28 lessons, and a lot of articles. There's been some articles that have come out since this infographic was put there, so it's well over 50 now, as well as you can see the statistics for Polar Connect events. And this year we have data about social media and the impacts on social media, 809 tweets, a lot of followers, and then there's also a lot of you are part of the PolarTREC Face Group alumni. So just a snapshot of what this one cohort has done as far as outreach. And we do have a good graphic of this, so if anybody wants to use this for your own purposes, feel free to ask Sarah and myself for the better version of this graphic so you can use it for anything.
This is Sarah. When I send out the archive for this event, I'll include this as a file for you.
Oh, that's great. Cool. Thank you. Any questions about, before we go into reflections, anything about outreach activities or any of these numbers or what your group has been doing so far? Okay. All right. Well, and then feel free to type in. I see there's lots of comments and stuff going by. I'm not watching any of them. The next piece is, I think I'll turn over to Sarah because this is actually more about the team reflection. And we're going to hear from everybody about what their experience was like and some of the efforts that you've been doing since then. So Sarah, I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, sure. So everyone who received emails about this from the 2013-14 cohort was asked to put together a couple of slides. One starting with just a real quick description of the science project and the teacher's role, and then sharing just the outreach that's been going on from the researcher and teacher's perspective. So hopefully getting the perspective from both folks or in the whole team. And then just kind of a fun thing at the end, a little tweet reflection, something short on the impact of PolarTREC, sort of in your reflection on participation. So while we're going through this, it'd be great, as people are thinking, oh, I see overlap in work that I've been doing as well as work, in your classrooms or outside, or researchers, if you're seeing overlap on outreach that's been happening for different science projects, we can chime in with that maybe in the chat box. And we do have folks from the current cohort, and maybe at the end we'll allow them to jump in and say, oh yeah, I want to kind of work with you on something like that, or I was trying to do the same kind of thing. So just a chance to share lots of ideas. So what we're going to do is move on to the first presenter, who actually isn't here, and it's Bruce and Dr. Rose Corey, and I have notes from them that they passed along. They wish they could have been here. But they worked in the Arctic Sunlight and Microbial Interactions project up at Tulip Field Station in June and July. And the photos outlined in black show efforts to track the carbon from thawing permafrost across the landscape and to study the effects of light on dissolved organic matter. The photos outlined in red show Bruce and Rose's effort to create high school chemistry and environmental science labs based on this science. And let me get to the next slide here. So in looking at their outreach, we've got all kinds of events and media coverage. And of course, it's all, as a reminder to folks, all of the outreach that's gone on for your project is linked into your expedition page. So researchers, you can go to the expedition page and check out different articles that were printed about the work. So this is just a smattering he wanted to share of outreach that he's been doing, presentations that he did with Alicia and Nell recently. And I apologize for the noise in the background. And then the last slide from these folks, a little tweet reflections. There they are. Bruce's is that my Arctic experience makes my students excited about polar science, even if they don't like going outside in the snow at 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Rose said, we love working with PolarTREC to engage the next generation of scientists who feel the heat from the warming Arctic. So these are from Bruce, and the next ones are Nell, and I'm going to put myself on mute. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Most of you have seen these pictures before because I think I've used them a million times. So for those of you who are new to the program, I was at Tulip Field Station last year on Team Spider, and we were studying the effects of the predatory wolf spider on microbial food webs in the permafrost. And so Amanda Colt is finishing up her PhD at Duke University. She is actually in Denmark right now, working with someone on her last chapter. Sarah, you can go to the next slide. So unfortunately for me, since Amanda has not published her PhD, I actually haven't been able to really use any of the data that we collected this year. So she did send me, this is her first poster presentation for what she's found. She found that actually the spiders have a negative feedback to climate change. So basically in our warm plots, we found that if we had higher spider densities, then we would slow the rate of carbon loss from the tundra. So obviously it's a really good thing to have spiders in your little spider plots. So we want to see that if temperatures are increasing, that we have more spiders, and actually have bigger spiders as well. And they could eat all of those decomposers, so then they could slow the rate of carbon loss. Next slide, please. So what's happened since? So like I said, Amanda is still working on publishing her research. So I haven't been able to do as much with my classroom as I wanted to. But as Paula mentioned, I am going to be working with Paula next year. I got a job at her school, and Amanda is moving to St. Louis. So we're really excited about actually using her data next year with my classes. So I'm super excited about that.
But I do almost daily have connections with my classes. My students are really sick of hearing about Alaska, actually, because I talk about it all the time. I did present with Alicia and Bruce at NSTA Boston, and it was really, really fun. We had a great time. And then Paula and I also presented a couple of times at the Museum of Science and Industry. And we're hoping to build that relationship more next year. I did submit an abstract for Paula and I to present because NSTA will be in Chicago next year. And Paula and I also joked that we will now be, the only bipolar school in Chicago. So hopefully we can take advantage of that. And then as far as my tweets go, I think that's my next slide. Sarah, if you want to go to the next. Yeah. So these are really lame. I made them yesterday, I think, or the day before. So first, PolarTREC 2013, Arctic wolf spider, permafrost friend or foe. And then slow your roll carbon, add wolf spiders to the tundra to decrease soil decomposition and CO2 loss. And then two lake tails, wolf spider, 6'6", mosquitoes and me forever changed. Because I will say this experience has changed me forever. Not just because of all the mosquito bites I got, but I really developed a lasting friendship with my researcher Amanda and our research assistant Kiki, and also with all the rest of my cohort. So I'm very happy that I did it.
All right, thanks, Nell. That was perfect. And our next person coming up is Glenn Clark. Go ahead, Glenn.
Hi. I've been back a couple months from East Antarctica. I went with Dr. Amy Leventer, and we did three different. It was an interdisciplinary approach. It was geophysics, physical oceanography, and marine geology. It was we were in an area that had never been to before. The data obviously has not been adapted or has not been published yet, so I can't really say much about that. But can we go to the next slide, please? So I'm basically trying to put things together in terms of what we did. I've been doing a lot of public outreach in terms of visitations. Dr. Leventner came up last week, and we did one in a local school. And since then, I've done about 12. But in terms of the data, provided with life-changing experience.
Hold on one second, Glenn. Did someone just call in by phone?
Yes, this is Lynn, and
Okay, Lynn, great. We're glad you made it. If you can press mute *6 on your phone. We're hearing background music.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think that'll be better. Glenn, sorry to interrupt
That's
you.
fine. So I was the last one to get back, so I'm kind of just getting a lot of things together right now, working on my public outreach. I've done a lot with the public radio in the area and been doing a lot of visits to schools, K through college, and working with Dr. Leventner. So can I get the next slide, please? In terms of what I have, it's kind of new since I just got back, and we did a lot of work in dealing with seismology, with core sampling, and physical oceanography and the like. And there's some significant information that's going to be coming out, but nothing can be published until probably the end of the summer. So I can't really give data yet, but in terms of lesson plans, there's going to be several coming out in the next month or so once I get everything together. So hope that helps.
Perfect. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate it. And the next one is Paula, whom I believe is on the phone, right, Paula?
Yeah, it's here. Log in on the computer.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Can you go on to somebody else, and I'll see if I can log on to the computer and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next person is Mark Using. Mark, are you ready to chat?
I'm ready. So we were up in Greenland doing the airborne survey of polar ice with NASA's Operation IceBridge. That's me in the picture. That's my best side. And Michael Studinger was the project scientist. Janet posted a link to one of his videos. He posts all of his on Vimeo. And if you get a chance, you should go to vimeo.com and just search for Michael Studinger. And he is not only one of the world's foremost authorities on glaciers and Arctic ice and Antarctic ice, he is also quite an amateur filmmaker. He does some really nice videos that really capture the adventure that exists in those polar regions. And then Christy Hansen is the program manager. She is actually in Seattle this week speaking at a conference trying to encourage more girls to get into STEM. It's called, oh, now I'm blanking on the name. George, do you know the name of that program she's at? It's like Girls Go Science, something like that. I'll find out and I'll put a comment in the chat window. But anyway, she does great things getting more women involved in STEM careers. So my goal, or working with NASA, we figured out that my goal should be just to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers, and as much as I could translate what NASA is doing, which is some pretty cutting edge stuff with some very unique scientific equipment, and translate that to the high school and even the middle school programs, coming up with some different ways to present that material through the journals and through the lessons that we developed. And of course NASA is they're there gathering data, trying to gather as much data as they can in as many different modes as they can to help future scientists build better climate models. And it's really no exaggeration to say that all of us here in this webinar are training the next generation of scientists that will use this data that NASA is collecting today. Next slide. So in the upper left there is just to date through the different web connects and Skype sessions and personal appearances that I've made at different groups. We've reached out to that many students, teachers, and others would be just parents, or gave a talk at the library and the local Rotary Club. So that 392 other is just anyone who's not a student or a teacher. So to date, that's 1,300 individuals. This summer I'm giving a talk at Bradley University in Peoria in July. If you're going to be in Peoria in July, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, let me know and I'll make sure you get the details. You can come hear me talk, and that's supposed to be another 500 people or so at that one talk. 42 YouTube videos have received over 6,000 views. The one on how big is Greenland, which really has nothing to do with NASA or gathering data on ice, is the most popular on the PolarTREC site. I think that one alone got like 2,000 views. Some social studies teacher must have gotten a hold of that and shown it 2,000 times in class. And 590 minutes in direct outreach, just totaled that up. And the last time I checked with Ronnie, I had over 10,000 page views. So just some general statistics there. The pictures on the right side, the one in the bottom right corner is when I was actually in Greenland talking to a grade school class back in Oregon. And the one in the upper right is just from this year. NASA allows you to chat in real time with any of their airborne missions, and this one we happen to be chatting with IceBridge just about 3 weeks ago. My classes got a chance to chat. It's a text chat with the scientists on the plane, and they got a real kick out of that. They thought that was pretty neat that they could be chatting with real scientists while they were actually flying over Greenland collecting data. And the last slide. And yeah, so I tweeted out that collecting data for future scientists with Operation IceBridge at NASA Ice was Adventure in Science is a win. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And we'll go to Ken next. Ken, are you available?
I'm right here. So my scientist was drilling an ice core on the Mount Hunter ice divide in Denali National Park. And my job was actually support on their acclimatization climb. I actually left before they went to the drill site and finished my support on the acclimatization piece. So the two slides there are just my former student and I at various points on our trek up the glacier, which was certainly special for me. And then my next role was outreach, and then whatever else I had to do with PolarTREC. So that's sort of the short version of their work. There is no data yet coming out of that ice core. They did successfully get the ice core from Talkeetna to the National Ice Core Lab in Colorado, and some of the researchers and PhD students who were also part of our team are actually involved in the processing of those cores. And it's pretty neat that they'll actually keep those cores around for decades to come, because people never know what kind of new analysis techniques are going to be available. So in, say, 30, 40, or 50 years, they'll be able to pull out that ice core and do different analysis based on current technology. So then, and their purpose is to actually analyze that 1,000-year-old core and figure out paleoclimate with the hopes of predicting, next steps for whatever climate changes are going on the planet. So that's sort of the short version of their research. So we can just hit the next slide. So outreach is, for us, it was local library, a presentation at University of New Hampshire, PTO, various workshops. One of the best ones for me, that wasn't necessarily a face-to-face event, but it was, I got hold of, I'm a union activist as well in Maine, and it's a small state, so our union newspaper goes to about 25,000 educators. So that actually, and they did a big spread with both Seth and I featured as part of our whole deal. So that was a pretty big just contact with tens of thousands of people, which was just via print media from our teachers union. And then Seth is actually, he's not here today because he is in Alaska, and will, according to Sarah, we'll soon meet up with Sarah somewhere near Denali National Park, which is kind of neat. So it sort of coming full circle. Sarah and Seth have sort of known each other now for, I don't know, maybe close to 6 or 7 years, which is neat. So we'll be doing stuff actually as we move forward, because Seth maintains a relationship with me as friend and former student, and always wants to come back to Nobleboro just to give back what he got out of our small little school in Maine. So the pictures here were of Seth's visit earlier this spring, when there was obviously still snow on the ground in Maine. And sort of the top middle one sort of gives the lay of the land. We had a stream table set up there with flubber, which Seth actually uses in his lab at Krell in New Hampshire to model glacier movement. So that was a bunch of kids hanging out with flubber, and then Seth is seated and they're looking at ground penetrating radar data, because on the far left we dragged the GPR unit around our school grounds and then analyzed data from that back in the classroom and found like the sewer pipes and the lines. And was it actually interesting because underneath our basketball court outside, they were able to see the various layers of site preparation, gravel and such, in order to determine what was actually underneath the basketball court. And then the bottom slide was actually 2 climbers on the glacier, 1 Lego guy and 1 other little doll, 1 me, 1 Seth, and they actually got to bury us in the glacier and watch that flubber move down that slope, and you can see the contour lines. They were straight at one point when we began that lab. So that flubber actually shows how glaciers truly do bend and twist and turn based on the lay of the land and the geography. So that was actually kind of fun. I had kids then model it, design their own experiments with that flubber. So we'll go to the next slide. And Seth actually was not able to join this whole event, like I said, but I go back to a newspaper article that was done in our local coastal Maine newspaper, where I sort of just wrote a tweet for Seth, because he definitely just wants to give back to the community that helped him get where he is. So that's his tweet. And then I'll just let you read those tweets. There's enough. Most of them, actually all of them except the second one, are from students. So I turned them loose on the hashtags and, you know, let them be creative. And I did some editing, but I like the last one if you get a chance to read that. So I'll stop there and we'll move on. Thanks.
Very funny. Nice. Thanks, Ken. These are great. I love them. I like pancakes. It makes sense. It comes together there with the layers. Very cool. So we're about halfway through the teachers of our group. And so what I'm going to do is jump back. So we've gone through about half the teachers, and we do have George Hale with us. He was with Mark Busing in Greenland, and Amy Leventer, who is with Glenn. So Amy, if you want to type in the chat box, I believe you don't have a mic, but you're welcome to type in the chat box sort of your reflections if you want, or are you trying to use the mic?
Hey, I'm trying to use the mic. Is it working?
Hey, I'm trying to use the mic. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead and talk. Our experience with PolarTREC was amazing. We really appreciated the hard work that Glenn put in, which was working a 12-hour shift to do all the science and then working after hours to do all of his outreach, blog, Polar Connect, and lesson planning. It was a really important link for us back to the real world, in addition to all of the schools that followed us, all of our families, from the ship's crew to all of the other staff on board the ship and all of our own families. Followed these blogs. We got great comments from everyone. My husband said it's the first time he actually understood what I did in Antarctica, and I've been working there since 1983, so that was a great compliment. And Glenn and I don't live that far apart from one another, just about 3 hours, and that was one of the reasons I was glad that we were matched up, so that we could continue to work really easily with schools in the area. So for example, earlier this week I went up and Glenn and I met at a local school and talked to the entire 5th through 12th grade in a big assembly, and then proceeded to talk to the earth science class, so a group of 9th graders, and then to the AP biology class, a group of 11th graders. So we hope to be able to continue that one-on-one connection with a lot of the local schools in the years ahead.
Thanks, Amy. That was perfect. And I'll jump over to George. George, are you available to just comment?
Oh, sure. Unfortunately, last year I wasn't able to go to Greenland, so I based a lot of this on just the journal entries and all of the video interviews that Mark put together. He did little bits of science for his students, but then he also interviewed various members of the team. And he just kind of integrated himself into the team right away. And these are, you know, we're talking long days, 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, and just fit right in. And we still keep in contact with him, and he was actually really helpful getting our teacher from this year ready for the experience.
Thanks, George. It's great to see the connection between you and Mark, even though you weren't in the field and he was. It's great. Thanks for adding. And our next presenter is going to be Lynn Reed, a little bit different from the regular PolarTREC expedition, but you know of her particular project. So Lynn, are you still available on the phone?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm on your first slide, the who and where and when.
All right. You will have to help me a little bit. I am actually talking to you from the National Mall, sitting behind the castle. I was at a meeting and just stepped out here. So the first thing that I believe this slide is a bit of the setting forth that the Joint Science Education Project does take place in Greenland. It's a little bit different than the other PolarTREC. We bring high school students from the United States, from Denmark, and from Greenland together. They spend, let's see, last year there were 5 U.S. students and 3 U.S. teachers, 3 Danish students and 1 teacher, and then 9 Greenlandic students and 2 teachers with experience teaching in Greenland. We work out of Kangerlussuaq for most of the time. That's the Kangerlussuaq Science Field Pool, and during that time we work with scientists from Penn State, from Indiana University, from the University of Copenhagen, just to name a few. We try to make sure that the students have a wide-ranging experience so that they are out in the field for most of that, and all that is in where that blue star is. There on the near the coast. Kangerlussuaq is the end of a long fjord. Then a smaller group of students stays on for Arctic Science Education Week, and that's where the red star is. We go up to Summit Station. That's at the top of the Greenlandic ice sheet. And we stay there and learn a bit more about science, especially having to do with ice and snow. If you go to the second slide, you'll see a variety of pictures there that try to capture some of the experiences. There's no way that I could capture all of them without many more slides. To talk a little bit about the outreach, my role as an Einstein Fellow and as the person who's helping to co-lead the Joint Science Education Project means that I do have an ability to travel a bit to promote this. I was in Alaska for the Alaska Math and Science Conference back in October and presented about JSEP there. I've been in STA, and then just earlier, about a month or so ago, I was at the European Geosciences Union and presented a poster there. So there's sort of that level of promotion and talking about the program. I also go around to quite a few schools in my wearing my Einstein Fellow hat for the Office of Polar Program, and always try to talk a little bit about this opportunity for students to go, and even if they cannot go physically, that they can share the experience virtually through the journals and the photos, and we do host some Skype sessions. Another angle of the outreach is what our students are able to do. All of the student groups, while in Greenland, they present at the end of the science field school to the locals. So these are people who are living and working in Kangerlussuaq and the nearby areas, and it's a very important role. The Greenlandic students get to present in their own language. The U.S. students and the Danish students are supporting them. They're talking about what they've learned, whether it's the lakes or the ice or the peregrine falcons or whatever it is that they wanted to highlight. Another angle of their outreach, of course, is through the same thing that the PolarTREC teachers do, is that their blogs are followed by friends and families and schools. And then once they get returned to their homes, they each one, and these are from 5 different states, work with not only their own school, but the feeder schools, especially middle schools. They try to go out and share what they've done. For example, Samantha from New Mexico presented not only in the Albuquerque area, but also family in, I believe it was Michigan. She did a series of presentations. Our student from Minnesota had worked with a gallery, and she did a combination of art and science, and it was very well received. One last outreach is I had a chance to travel to Chile, and we have now made a connection for next year's, this coming up, I should say in about a month. We're going to be Skyping with students in a Chilean high school, because of course they're in session in July. The third slide, I just couldn't bring it down to Twitter links, things, but I wanted anybody who wants to look at some of them. There's some really powerful reflections. I just picked out 4, one a Danish student, one a Greenlandic student, and then 2 U.S. students, and you might want to look at those. And I did put a 4th slide in just as a plea to all of my friends and fellow teachers out there that I would love for you to follow the JSEP 2014 expedition. We are going to be leaving on or arriving on June the 27th, and then our dates will go through July the 19th. And we would love to have people to send us questions so that the students could practice responding. They do also post videos on YouTube, and if you have an idea of what you would like to know about, that would be a great thing. So I think I've talked enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Perfect. We're going to start advertising as well. Andre, who's online, he didn't get a chance to introduce himself, but he came online a little late. Andre was, yep, he's still here, but we'll start advertising his expedition too. So I am going to jump back here to Paula's slides. Paula, if you're ready to go.
I think so. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Okay. I was at Palmer with Kristen and Lisa. You can see us there on the left. And like it says, the focus of the work this particular season was to determine if the loss of hemoglobin in Antarctic ice fishes was advantageous because of reduces the production of free radicals, which I'll let Kristen, if she wants to say what they found or if it's open. And pretty much this was my second trip with them, and it was really great. I mean, I pretty much did whatever was needed. We went out fishing. The difference, I guess the biggest difference on this trip was we had Fish Spy with us, which was a little contraption my students made. You can see it in that one picture where we're on the deck of the Gould, getting it ready to launch. And it was a frame with a camera, really, to try to get some footage of the fish, which we ran into a lot of problems and obstacles, and we ended up with a nice little video. And right now we're working on a new project, which we are trying to build a little something where we can lower it down with the fish, lower a camera down with the fish pots, and have some sort of time-lapse photography with maybe an infrared camera, so that because there's very little, if any, research on kind of these fishes in their natural habitat. And outreach, I mean, Fish Spy got a lot of national attention. NSF picked it up, and then it was kind of funny because as I was looking for some of these screenshots to make this slide, I came across 2 or 3 more websites that had articles about it, which I thought was kind of funny. And the local NPR station interviewed my kids. And one of the more exciting, Kristen and Lisa came recently in March and met my students and went down to the City Science Fair where we had some kids who had made it into City, and one of whom actually went to International and came in 4th, which he was pretty excited about. And then we went to the shed and made a presentation and a pitch for an exhibit, which went great. There was a lot of interest, so hopefully in the next few years there'll be an exhibit at Shed Aquarium on Antarctic fishes. And then these are just, you know, it just really has surpassed my wildest expectations. Not only has it been fascinating and interesting learning the science and taking part in it and bringing it back to my students, but Kristen and Lisa and I really, the chemistry really clicked, and we're not only continue to work together, and I look forward to keeping on working with them, as well as we've become pretty good friends, and like I said, they're occasional partners in crime. So it's been a lot of fun.
Great, thanks, Paula. Kristen, were you able to stay on and want to chime in here? She had to take off right at about 2 o'clock, but Kristen, did you want to use your microphone and chat with us, or did you need to call in?
She had called in earlier.
Kristen, oh, go ahead, you're typing. Okay, cool. Yep, I'm not hearing you. So if you do want to just type in your reflection, Kristen, that's great. If you do have time, you're welcome to call back in to do audio if you'd like to. All right, I think what I will do is jump us down to the next teacher, which I believe is Carol Scott. And Carol, are you on the phone?
Oh, can you hear me?
Now?
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay, and hold on one second. Now I can hear Kristen. Go ahead, Kristen.
Sorry, I just figured out how to use the microphone.
You're all good.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that our collaboration with Paula, I think, has grown beyond
what we ever anticipated that it would, and it's grown in all sorts of different directions. So not only, you know, have there been all the outreach activities that Paula has done with her local community, but as Paula mentioned, we're building on the Fish Spy, and in our newest grant, Paula and 2 of her students will be going out to an ROV workshop in Maine in the summer of 2016, so we can construct a bigger and better Fish Spy to deploy in 2017. And then we are moving ahead with an exhibit at the Shed Aquarium. We have folks at NSF on board, as well as folks at the Shed, and we anticipate that students from Lindblom will be involved in that, as well as Paula. So thank you again, PolarTREC, for all of your support.
Thanks, Kristen. That was great. All right, we're going to go to Carol Scott. Carol, did your audio start working?
No, it's knocking on and off.
All right, well, we hear you now.
Okay.
And we are on your first slide with lots of photos.
Okay, I'll have to go to the PDF. Okay, so I can remember what I put up. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Weird. So Arctic wetland dynamics in northern Finland. So a year ago, I was out there at PepsiCo after finally getting to Finland, and Kim and I were collecting gas sort of by hand with needles and vials and whatnot, because her very fancy laser that does this automatically kept not getting shipped from the States. So it really hampered our field work, because the laser does it on site. In other words, you put the caps on the soil collars, let them sit for 20 minutes, and then sample the gas. And the laser analyzes right there. So we ran out of vials because we didn't have the laser. So we had to, after 10 days, take a 6-hour road trip south to Rovaniemi to use a gas chromatograph for a week nonstop, analyzing samples so that we could then take the vials back up and use them again to get new samples. But it was a pretty amazing experience. Gas chemistry, stuff you can't see. How do you get those concepts across to students? Was a wonderful learning curve, and Kim was very good about explaining some pretty hardcore chemistry to me, and then I spent a lot of time trying to break that down so 7th and 8th graders could understand it. So it was a really good challenge, and Kevo Research Station is absolutely an incredible place. I loved it there. And what really helped me, since our field work was, in a sense, much slower than I think most PolarTREC teachers experience, there were other researchers doing other projects. So I kind of could tag along and ask questions. And once they found out that I was really serious about learning this stuff and writing it down properly, because I kept asking them to look at my journals before I put them up, they were totally into it and thought it was PolarTREC itself was a really cool program and a neat thing that I was doing. And what you're seeing those 3 people, Carolina, Lowry, and Haney, put up is an enclosure where they were then going to release some autumnal moth larvae, because they have outbreaks in particularly Scandinavian countries, and when they have an outbreak, they just denude the landscape. It's pretty remarkable. And with the long-term records that exist at Kevo, they are finding that it's getting warmer, and that's changing the pattern of outbreaks. So they're really taking a look at that. I already mentioned the flexibility issue there. The hose for the laser came, but even that took about 4 hours to get through the local customs, and Kim was almost in tears over that. It took Kim and then a person who could speak Finnish and English, and then a person who could speak Finnish and Sami and English to get that through customs, and then some money too. So it was pretty interesting all around, but a wonderful experience overall. On the next slide, I I followed through and decided to take a year off teaching because teaching situation wasn't very good to start with. And I have been wanting for a long time to figure out how to get students into the field more. I'm sure you guys all know they love going outdoors. They love seeing these real connections to what they learn in the classroom. So it's been, the years really flown by. It's been a much bigger project than I imagined. I knew there was a lot of support for it, but then just because people are enthusiastic about it doesn't mean you can just start up a program. And starting up your own nonprofit, well, does the world really need more nonprofits because there's only so much money to go around? So then looking for partnerships, money's tight. What can you say? PolarTREC was awesome in that I did go to the American Geophysical Union Conference in San Francisco, which totally blew me away in terms of sheer size. It's the first time I've ever had to do a poster, which was a good experience. And a lot of people, what I did find from that was an awful lot of people are interested in promoting science communication and outreach and education. I mean, NSF requires it as part of any grant, but people really, there's a huge body of researchers who super care about getting the information out there and how best to do it. It was really kind of neat to learn that. But most exciting is that I have managed to start a program that essentially I went to a local park service, Gates of the Arctic and Yukon Charlie's up here, and say, hey look, I found this mini grant from Murray Science and Learning Center and Alaska Geographic. Are you interested in sending some middle school students up the Haul Road and for a science education program? And they said, heck yeah, we're interested, but we don't have the time we don't have the time or ability to see this through. But if you want to do it, we'll back you up. And then I went to our local BLM, who, that's the public land, the Haul Road goes through BLM land. And they were super interested too. So we developed this partnership and got this mini grant. So June 6th through the 13th, it sounds like there's going to be 8 students now. We're trying to keep it small. Take 8, 12 to 14-year-olds up the Haul Road. We're going to camp at Marion Creek, which is near the Coalfoot area, which is on the south side, so in the Boreal Forest, where we'll be working with a Snowy Hare project, a researcher there, and also right around the Coalfoot area, they're starting a breeding bird nest box project, so we'll help with that. I've got a 13-year-old tour guide all lined up in Wiseman, which is a small community just north of Coalfoot. He's a good buddy of mine. But he'll be the same age as the kids, and it's a very different lifestyle, living off the grid and living up in the Brooks Range. So he's going to show these kids around town. Then we go over Adigan to the north side and camp at Galbraith Lake out there on the tundra. And we're working with a Smith Longspur researcher there. And we also, and this is a big deal, we're able to get permission to visit Toolik. So we're very excited. On June 11th, we'll be at Toolik, and we've had some researchers express interest in working with us. And now that everything's been okay, Toolik is really excited about having these kids there and have asked, can they do an article on them for their promotional purposes. And one of the researchers who emailed back and said, yeah, I'd like to meet with the teacher and the kids, was a researcher that I met several years ago when I was at Toolik, the one time I'd been there on a different project. And that was when it planted the idea of, we've got to get kids at Toolik. This is an amazing facility to have them see science in action. And I'm hoping I meet Andre, and it sounds like Lauren might be there at the same time. I know researchers are really, really busy, but we are going to get a tour, and I might even get to go out on projects with people if they are available that day. So that's pretty exciting, and I just spent the last 2 days on risk management training down in Denali Park with Alaska Geographic, and they're super psyched about this program and want to make it sustainable. and sort of been kicking ideas around with other people about other programs to build out of this North for Science already. So very exciting.
That sounds good. Thanks, Carol.
Yeah.
And let's see, I think it's Jamie is next. Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm hoping you can. I'm gonna.
Yes, I
okay,
can.
Great.
Go ahead.
So thank you. Yep, my name is Jamie Essler. I joined Dr. Neil Iverson and Dr. Thomas Hoyer from Iowa State University and the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And we traveled to the Hopsjökull ice sheet in central Iceland, where I helped their research team study drumlin formations on the glacier Múlajökull. And drumlins are more or less an enigmatic glacial landform. Of all glacial landforms studied in the scientific community, it is the one that has the most papers published about it, yet it is the least understood. And so this was a very important research project for that aspect of the geomorphological community, because Múlajökull is an active drumlin. I am hard to hear. Okay. Múlajökull is an active drumlin field. So all other drumlins on the planet Earth are either from the Pleistocene or late to mid Pleistocene. These are young, very, very fresh, blink of an eye geologically speaking. In the last 5 to 10 or 15 years they've been formed. So in the top left-hand corner you can see me and postdoc researcher Luke Zoot. I helped a lot with the ground-penetrating radar work. I also helped the team collect many different samples for pre-consolidation and AMS sampling, which is anisotropy of magnetic susceptibility. They were basically using small microscopic magnetic particles in the glacial till to try to determine how the drumlins were formed. Just below that picture in the center is a picture of the GPR data, and Dr. Zoot has been really, really nice and kind and has been working with my students and I this spring interpreting the GPR data. So I've had my physical science students using the GPR data in their electromagnetic spectrum unit to try and help the team figure out what the data actually mean about drumlins. I was also fortunate in the field to work with a team of international scientists from Sweden and Denmark, and we conducted an ice margin profile where we used really simple surveying equipment to monitor the ice margin of Múlajökull at 2 different points. And they were kind enough to let me bring this data back to my classroom to be used in a simple Excel graphing exercise where my students graphed the surveying data for the ice margin over the last 4 years and were able to see for themselves a really good example of glacial recession in the northern hemisphere. And it was really, really neat to see the kids' eyes open up to that as we were doing it. So in the field, I worked as a research assistant and did the PolarTREC outreach. I was in a remote site, so I had a 3G internet connectivity, which was mostly reliable, but sometimes not. And we did the best we could. As far as outreach, I've been pretty busy in the fall and throughout the winter. I had a chance to travel to Iowa and Wisconsin. In the top right-hand corner, you can see a picture of the team and I running a coffee shop science seminar in Ames, Iowa, run through the Iowa Science Center. And in the bottom pictures below that, I was able to go to Dr. Iverson and Dr. Hoyer's labs in Iowa and Milwaukee, which was really cool. I got to spend a whole week there. I Skyped with my students, and we Skyped from the lab a couple of times in the AMS lab and also from the pre-consolidation lab. And it was just really neat for the students who followed me all summer long to kind of see the whole experience go full circle. They got to see me running samples in the devices, and they also saw me collecting the samples in Iceland, and it was a really neat kind of full circle experience for them. But I've been doing outreach about polar science and careers as a scientist at the local elementary schools, other local high schools in town. I've done staff development with some of the middle school science teachers in my district. I've written some letters to the editor about climate change in the Rocky Mountains in our local newspaper and for the local environmental nonprofits. Overall, the PolarTREC experience has really helped me become a community figure for climate change education and STEM education. And I think somebody said it earlier, but I never had any idea how positive this would impact my classroom and my community and my development as a professional, but it has been way beyond anything I knew possible. Throughout the year, I was also honored as Idaho's State Teacher of the Year, which kept me very, very busy amidst everything else going on with PolarTREC. And it provided me even more opportunities to share my enthusiasm for polar science. And I met with some great people in Washington, D.C. and a bunch of other inspirational teachers. And I may, and I'm kind of crossing my fingers, I have a meeting with them in 2 weeks, but I may be working with the People to People Ambassadors Program, and I may be working with them to bring a group of students to Antarctica in 2016, which I'm really hoping happens. I don't tweet. I don't have Twitter at all. I've never sent a tweet. Hashtag, I just don't get it. And so I think if I could nail this all down to a hashtag, I'm going to give it my best shot. I'll try to, I would appreciate the training, thank you. I'm going to type it in hashtag, let's see, hashtag never knew this would be so inspirational. Is that a good one, Sarah? Did I do okay? No, Mark. Okay, I need to talk to Mark.
Hashtag best ever.
So, in short, the relationships I've built with the scientists, Neil and Tom and Luke and all the master students and graduate students, and the relationships that they've built with my students back at Lake City has been so positive. Enrollment for my AP Environmental Science course doubled since last year, and I think that that's largely as a result of how I was able to bring such innovative programming through PolarTREC into my classroom. Enrollment for the dual enrollment class that I teach through the University of Washington on climate change, that enrollment is up as well. So it's working, and I'm so glad for every opportunity this has brought into my life. So thank you, Sarah and Janet and Neil. It's been wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Okay, we have Tom Lane and then Alicia. Those are our last two teachers. So Tom, we will turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Hi, all. Looks like I sent my slides to you backwards. This looks like a outreach slide. So start with that. No, that's okay. We can start with that one. Anyway, I had the pleasure of working with Elizabeth Webb out of the University of Florida in Healy, looking at carbon emissions from warm tundra. And as part of our outreach, like many of you, classroom visits, presentations to my school district, and newspaper article. The best out of that so far, I had the opportunity to go to the American Geophysical Union last December and do a presentation with Elizabeth, and that's the title of it, Secrets to a Successful Teacher-Researcher Collaboration. And that was a great experience. And the outreach is ongoing. I use the data from the research site in my earth science classes, and I'm looking forward to this summer in my own small research project, which is looking at whether the controls at carbon and permafrost experimental heating are truly represent the tundra surrounding that area. And Margaret Moritz, the site tech there, has offered to go through the data streams, of which there are many from the research site, with me and see what we can use in classrooms. So I'm looking forward to that. If you go on to the next slide. So yeah, that was the project in the wintertime, and I wanted the experience of being a viable member of a research team. I had never had that, and I feel I was successful in that endeavor. And I was able to do this by assisting in many ways, from actual data collection and data entry, and starting bulky snow machines and four-wheelers, and showing team members how to run a chainsaw, and chopping wood, and cooking meals, and maintaining a supply of meltwater, and of course shoveling. So I think that worked out fairly well, and for me, and I got, thanks to PolarTREC hooking me up with Elizabeth, I made some wonderful connections. On the lower left-hand side, I do a presentation, PowerPoint presentation with my classes and to whomever wants to watch. But one of the slides towards the end of the presentation shows the 5 different experiments we were monitoring there at CIPER the last season. Well, one of them anyways is in its 6th year now. And the dark line across the middle of that bar graph indicates the where carbon emissions and carbon absorption is equal. And I think it's fairly graphic, and the audience usually gets the significance of that data. Anyway, go on to the last slide. And so a couple things from Elizabeth, and I thought the important part is bringing authenticity to our science curriculum. And then John Kropick, the field tech, kind of hit the nail on the head when he said, and the free labor also helps. So yeah, we did a lot of that. The picture down on the corner I included just because I thought it was really great. There's John Kropick, the field tech, running the snow machine, and Kristen Coe, the site manager, and then Ted Shear, the principal investigator on the back. And it just looks like inspiring to me anyway. It looks like on to the future. So I had a great experience and made a lot of very important connections, which have led into some work this summer with the permafrost lab at the Geophysical Institute, and then back at the site being able to complete my own research project, which again, I've never done that, so I'm really excited about that opportunity. And again, that meeting all you folks also thanks to PolarTREC.
All right, thank you, Tom. And we're going to go to Alicia.
Well, you saved the cutest one for last, but not the PolarTREC teacher, the subject that we're studying. I was with Team Squirrel studying the circadian rhythms of Arctic ground squirrel. Basically, we were trying to figure out how these squirrels' rigid schedule impacts them from an energy standpoint. So my day-to-day work with Team Squirrel was a little bit of everything. Spent a lot of time carrying squirrel traps across the tundra. You can see that in the lower right corner of your screen. And that's with the REU student, Kate Wilsterman, who was out there with us. She was great to work with. So we may be trapping squirrels. Some days we were putting light collars on the squirrels as part of the experiment. That's what I'm holding in my hand in the top right corner. Sometimes we were recapturing squirrels that needed to have body temperature loggers implanted or explanted. That's why the squirrel on your screen has a bare belly. A lot of data entry. So every day was just a little bit different. Most of it involved walking across the tundra at some point. No, Tom, I didn't say anything about chopping squirrels. I think we're ready for the next slide now. Outreach has been pretty eclectic. I was excited to be able to connect with both Corey and Jeanette when they were out at Tulip Field Station with 2 different groups of students. You can see in one of the pictures it was a pretty large group of kids that this was before I actually got to go out, this picture. And Corey and Jeanette got to get them excited about the work I was going to be doing, show them some actual squirrels that they had in the lab. It was pretty exciting. This year we've since been able to Skype again with the group that I've done a lot of work with squirrel data and things, and they were able to ask specific questions to Corey and Jeanette, and that was exciting. You can see over on the right-hand side of your screen, these students are studying some squirrel data. Corey was great to work with me to pare down mounds and mounds of data to a manageable level for my 6th grade students. And I've just had great success with working with them, pouring through this data, really thinking like a scientist and thinking about polar regions, which they never would before. And it's amazing how my 5th and 6th grade students now care about the Arctic and Arctic ground squirrels and know what they are. So that's been the exciting part. And I've done a lot of outreach just within my school. Since my job is a little different, I get to work with all 26 classes in my school. I get to do presentations and teach directly with all those classes. I've done a lot with our kind of in-house announcements, kind of sharing information that way. I've done some with local media, newspapers, news shows, that type of thing, and just some local science conferences. Bruce and Nell already mentioned that we presented together at NSTA. I've been able to reach out to some neighboring districts and teach 5th grade classes, 6th grade classes, in some neighboring districts as well. So that's kind of where the outreach has gone. I'm excited about an upcoming one, which is the Women in Science Conference. So that'll be a bunch of middle school and high school kids that all get to have a table and share with them about the polar adventures, and also their teachers will be there too. So that should be exciting. So next slide. So my tweet is, PolarTREC made me a polar junkie. Love the tundra, love the people, love the science, the learning for my students and the squirrels. Hashtag charismatic megafauna rules, hashtag team squirrel. And Corey says, squirrels living large and keeping time in the land of the midnight sun, hashtag squirrel. So that is about it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. That's great. And now we're on the teachers. Corey, you work directly with teachers, so we can turn it over to you if you want to give us a little bit of your reflection as well.
Sarah, you were breaking up there. I don't know if anybody else got that, but I think Corey wanted you to talk.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, it was just a really great experience for us. We were really impressed with how quickly Alicia became an integral part of Team Squirrel. She really, essentially was just one of a group of researchers that we had out there, working really long days, sometimes some very crazy hours as we tried to make squirrels live at unusual times of day for them. And she was always upbeat and enthusiastic, so it was a fantastic experience from our standpoint. And then afterwards, it's been great just to interact with Alicia, and that she's been able to share with us a lot of the stuff that she's been doing in the classroom with her students, with pictures of what they've done and showing us how they've been able to use some of the data we've provided. And it was also really fun to Skype with their students, her students from the field as well. And we're excited to have Andre coming up with us in 4 days to fill in for Alicia this year.
Thanks, Corey. Perfect. And our next slide here is about feedback from the future cohort. So if there are folks who are online who are part of the 2000.
Hold on, I'm going to interrupt you, Sarah. At least on my end, you're still breaking up. So.
Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, yeah, you're just like, sound like you're on another planet there for some reason. Okay, Mark, will somebody let me know if if Janet is quacking you up or if I'm okay? Just let me know in the thing. Okay, great. So the next little bit here, we just want to get some feedback for from the future participants that are going out. And I think we'll see, I know a couple of people had to leave already, so we'll try to be quick here. But do you see any activities or outreach ideas that you might want to use on your expedition? Any thoughts about how alumni can support you, and any additional questions or things that you want to ask them? So we'll just go down the list. And Andre, anything you want to say or ask, or activities that jump out at you? Or yes, or you guys can put your hand up too if you don't want to, but I can also go down the list. So this way I make sure you're all awake out there. Oops, let's see. Guess my sound's not working. Okay. All right. Well, if you have something you'd like to add or say, why don't you just click on the little hand icon. Okay, Dominique, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I was having problems with my microphone earlier. Okay, wonderful. Yes. It was great to actually see all of these different kinds of outreach activities, and I've actually gotten a lot of great ideas. I was actually wondering if anybody had tried doing any like Facebook contests or giveaways or anything like that from the field, and if it worked for them, and if so, how they were able to make it work for them.
Okay, great question. So is there anybody that wants to address Dominique's question? Anybody that did that kind of a contest or anything? And if so, maybe, okay, go ahead, Mark.
I didn't run a Facebook contest, but I did run about almost daily little contests in my comment section of my journals. And when I got home, I sent out little prizes from Greenland to those students. And that was an idea, I didn't come up with that idea originally. That might have been a Mike League idea. And if it wasn't Mike League, it was some other brilliant teacher that came before me.
Oh, there's lots of brilliant teachers out there. Mike actually does put in a comment. Maybe Mike, would you like to explain a little bit more what you did?
Well, I would just chime in and say that one issue that I had in my district is that a lot of social media was blocked according to the school district policy. So we tried to funnel as much through the Ask the Team section. And you can do some pretty creative things to link your journals and Ask the Team together. I did a lot of like postcards from Antarctica and little like things from the shop that's down there as kind of like a reward. And it's pretty amazing to see how fast students and other folks following would post back. But I think you're definitely on the right track there, Dominique. Like it's definitely the way to go, and it was with everyone who followed the expedition. So we had a lot of folks from not just my own students or even within my own district, but from across the country. So I definitely think it would be something I would suggest. Heidi Roop before me did a lot of like mystery photos, you know, like close-ups of things that she saw or scientific equipment, and then had people kind of guessing as to what it would be or how it would be used. So again, as Mark pointed out, a lot of teachers have done stuff like this and it's been very successful in the past.
Okay, great. Dominique, do you still have questions related to that? I see you typing.
Yeah, if it's easier, I'll just ask them this way. I was curious because I was looking through the blog and I couldn't really see a way to collect anybody's information to be able to send them stuff. And I was wondering if it wasn't your own students directly that won your contest, how you were able to eventually recontact them when you get back to get their mailing information and send them their little prizes.
Okay. I don't know who wants to respond to that. Let's see. Okay, so they're responding. One did it over email. And I think if you have any other ideas, maybe you could type them into Dominique there. I know that there's some people that are happy to sign off, so I just want to say goodbye to them. Is there anybody else that wants to talk about outreach activities too? Or ask questions of alumni while we have them there? Oh yes, hi Anne. So Anne has a teacher that's going up with her to Barrow this year. Her other teacher, Hollis, wasn't on board on the meeting today. Okay, Andre, let's take your question. Maybe Andre, do you have to type yours? I see your hand is up. Okay. Well, okay, he's typing away. Well, so while Andre's typing away, we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. Carol wants to say something, so go ahead, Carol.
Hi. Yeah, Jamie mentioned the possibility of taking students to Iceland, and I forgot to mention that CAVO is interested in hosting a student group there too, and I'm wondering, does anybody out there have ideas, tips for taking students on trips like that, especially in terms of funding? Thanks.
Now that was a wide open one there, Carol. Maybe you should type in your email address so if they want to have a longer conversation about that with you, they can get hold of you.
I'll try, but it keeps kicking me off.
Okay. We can put your email address out there for you too. Oh yeah, and like Betsy says, put it out to PEI, and I'd say Apex would be another place to do it as well. All right. I think just because it's almost over an hour and a half that we've been into this whole thing, we'll wrap it up. And you guys all know how to connect with one another. There's and the new group will be going out here, so you can certainly follow them on through their expeditions. But the slide that's up is just about that, staying connected. There is, if you're an alumni, you should have gotten a survey. I think it was this spring or coming to you soon. From Goldstream group, and whether you're a teacher or a researcher, you'll get a survey. So we still want to collect information about how you are staying connected with PolarTREC. So if you're an alumni, please make sure you fill that out. There is Polar Educators International. They got a website. They're on Facebook. They tweet. Of course, everybody's got expedition pages. If you're doing things beyond PolarTREC, feel free to use your past PolarTREC expedition pages to share where you're going. Over the summer or in the upcoming year, or your different adventures. We still like to use those quite a bit. Again, there are social networking tools. There's an alumni group for Facebook and Twitter. And if you still want to meet up with your researchers, or researchers want to meet up with your teachers, or you want to go to conferences and things, please check with us about funding and submit those travel requests as you need them. And then just stay connected with one another on your ideas. A lot of you are already doing that, and it's really great to see those connections going on. And I think that's it. Is there anything else, Sarah, that you wanted to say? Let's see if we can hear you this time.
No, I think we're good. Thanks so much to everybody.
Okay, that came in clear. All right, and like we said at the beginning, this will be archived, and we'll share the archive with you. And it was really great to hear what everybody said. Nice hashtag there, Ken, PT rocks, and so do all of you. So thanks, and have a great evening wherever you are, and stay in touch.